looking at you, kid.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Right, Mr. DeMille, I'm ready for my close-up.
I'll have what she's having.
Boss will be with you, always.
I have a feeling we're not in Kansas anymore.
Hey everybody, this is Manning with Gone with the Wind, your wonderful esteemed host of the show about... Oh, nope, I'm going to do that again. Whoop, 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 whoop. Cue the music. Hi everybody, this is Manning. I can't... No, I can't. That Songbird trailer is still in my head. I'm just thinking, like, why would you do that, Michael Bay? That's just very poor... That's like, it seems exploitive in a way. Oh, Malcolm's here. Malcolm, don't you agree?
Definitely agree. Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, this is the show about award shows where we talk about, you guessed it, award shows. I'm Manning, and this is Malcolm, and that's it. That's it today. Short panel today, but it's a shorter episode because the other second half of this show, I got to sit down and talk with Dan Skip Allen of Disappointing Movies. And he kind of told us about his time at AFI, the American the American Festival of, AFI. Wait, what does AFI stand for?
American Film Institute.
Thank you. Wow. The American did not know what AFI stood for, and Malcolm did. So my brain, as you can already tell, my brain is already fried. Elections are coming up, and I will be working a long shift that day in the news, so I'm already dreading that. So my brain's like, presidential polls, voting, politicians. It's just kind of like all over that place. This is a nice little escape. We're going to talk about something not related to that. But also with me here is Malcolm. How are you doing today, Malcolm?
I'm doing pretty good. Just just relaxing, ready to talk Oscars.
Because you guys already had your elections, right?
Yeah, we had ours a couple of weeks ago.
How did that go? Was there any high spike in COVID, or is this like more New Zealand where no news is good news?
Well, I mean, like not to brag, but our COVID's pretty much under control. And it's safe to say, like, Jacinda's back in power for another 4 years because, I mean, the thing that she did over the last 4 years. So.
Yep. So I want to congratulate you. Clap for you guys getting under control. We're in the third spike, so I wish we could say the same, but we can't. Moving right along now. I mentioned prior Songbird. For those who haven't heard, Michael Bay is producing. He's not directing. He is merely producing this movie, where it's basically based upon the COVID-19 pandemic and is a romantic thriller. The premise is during a pandemic lockdown caused by COVID-23, very subtle, a young man must overcome martial law, murderous vigilantes, and a powerful, well-connected family to reunite with his love.
Yeah, Romeo and Juliet set during the pandemic is probably what I'm going to call it from now
on. That's like, can we see like movies that aren't like? I don't think a thriller would be the most appropriate thing at this time right now. Can we have remember those other movies, or that show about love in the time of COVID or quarantine or whatever it's called? Have you heard of that show?
I've heard of the show. I think I've vaguely heard that Love in the Time of COVID one. But there's a show that I'm watching at the moment that's on called Connecting, which is a Zoom call and just set during pandemic times, and it's just one of those ones that's I found really interesting, and it's one that like hits home, just showing how bad it actually was, or it still is.
And I would love if they did it in a way that seems, that's human and not like this big bombastic thriller, post-apocalyptic type of thing. Because literally, I just saw the trailer and I felt like this was very much not appropriate for the time right now. At least not right now. Give it a year or so, everyone. Come on. At least.
I mean, yeah, one of those like. I mean, I get they wanted to, like especially a lot of the actors out there, they wanted to film something during the pandemic, but doing a movie about the pandemic, which is supposed to be released next year, it's kind of a little iffy because, to put it in comparison, it took them 5 years to do a movie based on September 11. So the fact that they're ramping it up a little bit more and doing, I mean, not even waiting a year. Like they filmed it this year. So
yeah, it just seems it's ill-timed, and I wish that they would reconsider about when they would release it. Or I feel like the fact that they did this and all, like, yeah, as I said, give me stories about, about the people who survived in the pandemic, or about people going through about their lives during this time, about how we're all together. Not this post-apocalyptic type of story. I don't need that right now, and I think this is just not the right time.
Yeah, definitely.
But that's the fun little segment about Songbird. I was not planning on that until you mentioned it, Malcolm, and I'm like, I have not watched the trailer. I've avoided it. But we wanted to talk kind of first on the idea of something we punted a while ago. But yesterday, Malcolm gave a little tease, and I teased it as well, too, about some discussions we would have in regards to the Academy's new diversity rules. It's meant to encourage these major changes within the film industry because it's been slow going, to say the least, we'll say. And I think these rules, I would like to hear your thoughts, Malcolm, first, but I will go off right about and say I think these rules are good to encourage major change. And I think that while some people were first hearing this would be like, how dare you try to implement these new rules on art? Or I understand that, but I think the more you look at them, the more you realize they're not necessarily that hard to accomplish if you're following basic, rules. And I will definitely read the rules in a second about what they do. Would you like to give your initial thoughts first, Malcolm, before I read this?
Actually, read it first.
Read it? Okay. All right.
Yeah.
This is from the New York Times. Let's see. They are given a 3 set of stipulations from what I believe to be the case. And this will go, but this is not meant to be taken into effect until the 96 Oscars in 2024. So we have time. They will require the films to meet 2 of 4 diversity standards to be eligible for Best Picture nomination. And again, this is Best Picture nomination only. It doesn't have to do with anything else. And is, again, only 2 out of the 4 diversity standards. And this is all from the New York Times. I'll link the article down below in both our YouTube video and our podcast. But the first, and I said, quote, the first set of stipulations grouped as Standard A has already earned the most attention, and with good reason. It's meant to encourage diversity in front of the camera for an industry that still defaults to white actors. To satisfy the demands of Standard A, only one of these criteria needs to be met. So if you want to, just to let everyone know, if you need to meet Standard A, you'll only have to meet one of these to qualify for Standard A. A out of B, C, and D. It's a little confusing, but bear with me. Only one of these criteria needs to be met, and that is 1, at least one actor from an underrepresented racial or ethnic group must be cast in a significant role, no walk-ons. 2, the story must center on women, LGBTQ people, a racial or ethnic group, or the disabled. Or 3, at least 30% of the cast must be actors from at least 2 of these 4 underrepresented categories. So your cast must have some sort of representation in the above categories, and they only have to meet one of those 3 to qualify for Standard A. And of course, you hear the last 2 and you think, well, you'd have to completely change the stories for those last 2. And yes, but the first criteria, and this is from the New York Times itself, which mandates that at least one of the lead actors or significant supporting actors is from an underrepresented racial or ethnic group, will prove easy for most films to satisfy. Example, Zazie Beetz and Joker they give, as well as La La Land with John Legend in a supporting role. They sail by standard A with little to worry about. All right, standard B. Standard B is focused on hiring behind the scenes and asks productions to meet at least one of the following criteria. 1, 2 or more department heads, meaning jobs like director, cinematographer, or composer, must be female, LGBTQ, disabled, or part of an underrepresented racial or ethnic group. At least 6 other crew, at least 6 other crew members must be from an underrepresented racial or ethnic group. And 3, 30% of the film's crew must hail from 4 underrepresented groups continually laid out in these guidelines. Now it has to meet at least only one of these 3. So let's say for example, La La Land comes out. You basically have the first standard A and standard B done. Boom, it's eligible. So you got to standard C and D. And just to let everyone know, most Best Picture winners would not have to change at all. For instance, The Irishman and Tree of Life, which some people said like, oh, they're all white cast. Well, largely, yes, but they employed female casting directors and cinematographers, or female casting directors and Hispanic and Latino cinematographers, which have no problem meeting the criteria of standard B. So bear with me, guys. I'm almost done. And standard C requires one of 2 criteria to be met. 1, the film's distributor or financing company must have at least 2 interns from an underrepresented group. 2 interns. That's it for the whole company. That's very easily met. Or 2, the film's production, distribution, or financing company must offer training or work opportunities to people from those underrepresented groups. Like, you need an internship program, and the first one is done. And finally, standard D. It's only one, and it merely asks that, quote, some of the senior marketing, publicity, and distribution executives on a film are from an underrepresented group. Given the number of women and gay men who work in the field of publicity, that is an easy bar for any studio to clear, unquote. Now, that only 2 of those standards are meant to be met. And C and D are ridiculously easy to meet. You don't even have to find that in the movie for them to be met. And I think people were truly overreacting when it came to like, how dare you make these guidelines? People can easily find a way around this that is not making any lasting or meaningful change, other than the fact of like, we have to make these changes in order to get nominated for Best Picture. But in actuality, you don't have to change diddly squat, truly. But anyway, that's the 4 standards and the substandards under those. It's very easy to actually fulfill. I'm done talking for a bit. Malcolm, what is your opinion on all this?
Yeah. So, like, when I first saw these standards come out, at first I was in the camp was like, this is ridiculous. So like, and they're trying. At first, I misunderstood it to thinking they had to meet all the 4 standards. It wasn't until I actually went into it more to find out that they only wanted 2 out of the 4, which is more manageable, as you pointed out. But yeah, this is one that I think it will hopefully do good and get people more recognized. But I mean, it's also one of those ones like I get why they're doing it to get more diversity with Best Picture and stuff, but it's another one that, as far as we know, the other categories are staying the same. So we could and I think the bigger problem is people getting nominated for director, for actor and stuff, and I think they need to look more about. I mean, not that I'm saying, rig it so we've got some black directors and female directors nominated if their movie is not really that great, but it's like, but it's just they need to work out a way to get more representation for nominations in those areas rather than focusing on just the films that are eligible for the Oscars in the first place.
And this is I agree 100%. This, because when you first hear it, you're like, wait, hold on, what's going on? And you read into it, and then you realize it's a very empty gesture. It feels very much like, listen to this headline, guys. Look at how much diversity this diversity initiative that we're attempting to do. And I understand they want to have these goals of inclusion. It is something that needs to be done, not only in the Oscars, more specifically the film industry, because the Oscars we're getting there. We're getting there to true representation, I believe. But I don't think this is as big as people were truly thinking when it came to this announcement. And then I think that this is something that people should look at and be like, wow, they could do more, because this is kind of very easy to without even having a single. You truly do not need a single person. You don't need a single minority or any other gender. You could have an entire cast of all white men. You could have an entire crew of all white men. And because you have a couple of interns at your production company, and of course someone in your senior marketing could be a woman of color, then suddenly your film could still be eligible. It's just a very weird criteria. It's a very strange criteria to meet. It's like, I'm wondering how they came to this. What do you think, Malcolm? How do they come to this idea?
I mean, I think it's one of those ones that with this idea, I don't think there's so much trying to change
Hollywood?
the Oscars.
Oscars.
I think it's more. I think it's more of a case of if they're doing it to try and encourage people to change the way they cast movies or even come up with stories, because and I mean, this is something I am all for, because like, it is really rare to see a movie about like a representation. I mean, it's definitely ramping up a lot lately.
Yeah.
But then there's still really underrepresentation when it comes to the stories that are being shown in the movies. But I do think that for change to happen, I think they need to look at a way to figure out, because I mean, and honestly, like, even if it means they have to expand the categories to 7, just to maybe get use largely for example. I don't see a world in which Greta Gerwig is not the 6th or 7th person on that ballot and just missed out being nominated for Best Director. I really don't.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, no, and again, I acknowledge the fact that we are both white men who are currently talking about this. But I do think it is something that, I think in theory it is a noble gesture, but in actuality it kind of is a non-player when it comes to actually making any lasting change, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
It's a lot of pomp and circumstance, as the saying goes.
Yeah. I mean, part of me is kind of wish Abe was here to get his thoughts on
Abe,
this.
where are you? I would love his thoughts as well too. So Abe, when you come next week, we're gonna need your thoughts and opinions. But yeah, no, that's it's not too much. Diversity is an interesting thing to talk about, because I do wish we had more people on here to talk about who are not just us. Because I would love to hear the diversity talk when it comes to films, because we are both here to acknowledge that there is a systemic problem when it comes to Hollywood and race, and just serving of not only race but other ethnic groups and just minorities in general. That there's a lot of just white casts out there, and I think this is a good idea, and I just wish they went a little bit farther with it, because this seemed more along the lines of headlining. They want a headline to show they're doing something.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's I wish that I had more to talk about, but we're gonna go right into currently our or my discussion I had with Dan Skip Allen of Disappointing Media. Take it away, Manning. You're gonna hear me talk right now. You're hearing my voice again for the introduction because this is a special segment that we are doing to fit with his crazy schedule that he currently has right now. But we are glad to have him back on while I'm over here sipping my tea to my allergies. Listen to that. Hope you all enjoy that. I'm Manning, as you heard a little bit ago, because this segment will be the second half of our Gone with the Wind this week. So if you're hearing this now, you've made it to the half of the podcast. So congratulations for sticking with us, because now you're going to get into some AFI Review Fest with Dan. We have a previous guest, and that is Dan. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Manning. I'm glad to be back. One of my favorite things that I've done, in all this, in all the, the YouTube, the StreamYard, all the things that you and I have been involved with over the years is Gone with the Wind. And I'm always chomping at the bit to get back on with you and to give you all my knowledge that I might possess.
May I say, because I'm very, very bad. Dan knows this. Anyone who knows me knows how bad I am at checking Facebook messages, because I don't use Facebook that much. I go to Twitter. And that's how Dan got me. He said, hey, just so your messages. And I look back and I'm like, oh crap, you'd have. So thank you for doing that. So we have Dan back on here now, and he, unlike some of us, saw AFI. Well, actually, I'm curious, Dan, first, how does one get into AFI? How do you do that? Because they went virtually this year. So I'm sure, was it easier or harder to get in, I'm guessing?
No, it wasn't that hard. A lot of these things, I get press invites from various film festivals, and with various film festivals this year, they are virtual. So instead of flying out to LA and going to these screenings, I get to sit in the comfort of my own home, watch them on my computer, and then use my SmartCast and put them on my nice big old TV and just sit back and relax and watch the movies that way. They just happen to be at a specific time. You have to watch them at that time. They have a window which you need to watch these movies at. And if you don't watch them during that time, you miss the movie. And I have had that happen to me. I've missed a few movies in various festivals that I've been invited to.
So can you pause it, or is it just kind of like goes?
Yeah, because the window, it's like a 4-hour window.
Oh,
so you can pause it to go get something to drink, go to the bathroom. If you feel like cooking something to eat real quick or whatever, then you can come back to it. As long as it's in that window, you can still watch it. Some of the windows are pretty tight, and some of them give you like a 4-hour window, which is much better than that 2.5-hour window that some of them give you.
I'm guessing that's for like the shorter features.
No, they just don't give. Some of the people just don't give you a lot of time. You have to literally watch the movie at that time, or you do not. And if you like pause it or whatever, and it'll cut off at the end.
So by that window, if that window is over and you have not finished the movie, it'll shut off automatically.
Yeah. Yep.
Dang. That's what's the word I'm looking for? That's very there's a word. My brain.
Unfortunate.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. It's very you have to time it right, because otherwise it's like, okay, I started and then you have like 5 minutes left. You'll never know what those last 5 minutes are.
And with me, with my work schedule, a lot of the times the movies are 7:30. And you do the math, I have a half-hour drive to go to work after these movies. So it's a pretty tight window for me. But I've been doing pretty good. I've only really had one that really kind of put the pressure on me to get to work on, kind of drive a little bit quicker to work. But I've had pretty good luck with it. A few of them started at 8, which really that's difficult for me. And I have one that started at 9, so I was late. A little late to work that day, but what are you gonna do?
Well, Let's get into some of the specifics because, as I said, this year was completely virtual. How many films were you able to see, and what were the films? I'll ask specifically which ones and your thoughts on them, but what were the films you were able to see? Because nowadays, and the COVID pandemic that we're currently in right now, it's harder to, movies are not on the big screen as we talked about in our previous episode. They are a lot more virtually. And how was it for you seeing these, I guess, awards caliber films, hopefully, fingers crossed, on your small screen? How was that for you, and how many were you able to see?
I was able to see 5 through AFI, but I didn't wake up for one. And then one I couldn't get into, which was that was a hard one to get into. So I really regret not getting into that one. Minari, I really wanted to get into Minari. I couldn't get into it. And then I slept through Black Bear, which I heard great things from it, from the editor of my website. But I was able to see 5 films. The Father, I'm Your Woman, Sound of Metal, Wolf Walkers, and One Night in Miami.
Could you remind me again what the Black Bear was again, just so I can recall?
It's just a love story. It's just it's hard to explain, but it's just a love story between this man and this woman, and it's just not your kind of like big kind of theater experience type of thing. It's just kind of like indie foreign film, but it got really good. My buddy said it got good reactions when he saw it out of Toronto. And so he recommended it to me, and I had it on my schedule, and I just fell asleep, and I didn't set my alarm so I could wake up in time to watch it.
I was about to say, you caught me right when I was about to sip my tea. Delicious. So how was it seeing all of these films on your personal screen and not seeing? Because obviously, critics and whatnot will see these screeners and they won't be able to get the movie theater experience, but not having seen that. And obviously, I want to get your take because we haven't heard your take in all this pandemic stuff. How has that been for you, not being able to go to the movies in the traditional sense, as we have this past year since like March?
Yeah, as you know, I see around 300 movies a year, and I'm pretty bummed out about it. I think September was the last time I saw like 4 movies in September, and then the theaters shut down again. My TV, I have a really nice TV, and I have what's called SmartCast. So you cast it from your computer to your TV, and some of the movies came out looking really nice, but some of them didn't come out looking that great. So you just take the good with the bad as far as that goes, and you just have to look at the other qualities of the movie, the performances, the direction, the cinematography. Obviously, sometimes that stuff or the score or whatever. But some of them have come out looking nice, very nice, and it was like watching it in a movie theater.
So for you specifically, out of these 5 films that you were able to see, which one of those is your favorite? And start with that one and then work your way. I'll ask the questions about for the next one. But what was your favorite one that you saw out of the 5? And let's start with that. What was your favorite? And then tell us what it is and a little bit about it.
Well, my favorite, I would have to say, is One Night in Miami. One Night in Miami is directed by Regina King. Everybody might know who Regina King is. She has won an Emmy Award and an Oscar in recent years for If Beale Street Could Talk and with The Watchmen. In between doing those, she made a movie called One Night in Miami. And it's based on a play. And I can't think of the guy's name that directed the play right now.
I got it. You keep talking.
Something or other Kemp, I think the guy's name is. And she adapted the play for the big screen. And it's basically a imaginative meeting between these 4 legendary figures in the 1960s: Jim Brown, Sam Cooke, Muhammad Ali / Cassius Clay, and Malcolm X. Malcolm X gathers these 3 guys with himself in a room in a hotel room in Miami, and they discuss the things that are going on in the world with African Americans and so forth during the 1960s, following a fight of Muhammad Ali versus Sonny Liston. So it's basically set in one room. Most of the movie is set in one room where these four guys are just talking and having dialogue back and forth. But what it's talking about is what really is the most important things. And with today's society, with things that are going on with civil unrest and the riots and all the things minority groups are going through today, it's really a prophetic movie, because the 60s, a lot of the same kinds of things were going on in our country. And I think there's going to be definitely some Oscar buzz around this film for Best Director, Best Actor, Best Supporting Actor, Cinematography. One Night in Miami is definitely an Oscar contender.
And that was one that I've heard some buzz about too, because Regina King has had like a, you remember how Matthew McConaughey had a reconnaissance? He came out with True Detective. He came out with Mud around that time. And then he came out with his Oscar-winning performance in Dallas Buyers Club. Regina King has had like, last year it was, or was it this year for Watchmen this year?
This year, If Beale Street Could Talk last year.
I was about to say 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Or whatnot. Correct us. I can't remember right now. But no, it is also Kemp Powers, this guy who originally wrote the screenplay, which I believe, debut play written by Kemp Powers, first performed in 2013. This was one that I heard a lot of buzz about for a long time. And for everyone who wishes to see it streaming at home, Amazon Studios will have a limited theatrical release December 25th, 2020, followed by streaming on Prime Video beginning January 15th, 2021. So kind of that traditional Oscar window that you have per se, but since everything's been moved, we have a little more time now to catch up everything. But you think you said yourself, this one has big, and of course it has big Oscar buzz, but do you think from what you've seen, the quality is there and that this could actually do some damage?
Yeah. Kingsley Benadere as Malcolm X. I'd be shocked if he didn't get into best actor, or unless they decide all four of these guys are sharing time equally. I think the lead in this is Kingsley Benadere. And if anybody recognizes that name, he was also Barack Obama in The Comey Rule, which should be getting some Emmy buzz and Emmy love next year, probably Golden Globe for that two-part miniseries.
Definitely Golden Globe.
Yeah. Definitely Golden Globe. So Kingsley Benadere is a guy that's going to start coming up on people's radar now with playing Obama and then playing Malcolm X. Leslie Odom Jr., he was recently in Harriet. Yes. Everybody knows him from, obviously. Hamilton, he blew up from Hamilton.
The Room Where It Happens, everybody. Go listen to it.
Yeah, he plays Sam Cooke, a singer, and Aldous Hodge plays Jim Brown, and Eli Gore plays Muhammad Ali. But those guys, I don't think are as good as Odom Jr. or Kingsley Benadere. Those are the two performance-wise could come out of this. And I think the cinematographer, what he does with the camera, considering this is filmed in one room most of the time, does a great job. Because that's a hard thing to capture when you're in one room and you have to capture. I really put it on par with what Sidney Lumet did in 12 Angry Men, where you have 12 guys in a room, and then as the tensions ratchet up, the camera gets closer. You see the sweat on people's brows. You see the different things, and he does that. The cinematographer does a great job of that. And that part of that is the director, Regina King. She has all this set up because it is a stage play. So they can do this type of thing where the movements and the walking and the talking and all this. But in a movie, it can be a little bit harder to do, to capture what you're looking for. But I think she's going to be close. There's a legitimate shot of her as best director, along with another woman from another movie, but I didn't see that movie, so we're not going to talk about that one.
All right. So then moving on to another movie. You mentioned Best Actor, that you would be surprised if give me a second. I need to look his name. Kingsley Benadere, I believe you said his name was.
Yep.
He would get the buzz, but there is someone else who's already gotten a lot of buzz so far from a movie you have seen. You know what I'm about to say. One that I'm personally super excited about because he's an actor that no matter what he does, I'm always fascinated, even if the quality of the film itself is not great. But I would love to hear your thoughts on The Father, starring Anthony Hopkins or Academy Award winner Sir Anthony Hopkins and Academy Award winner Olivia Colman.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I actually saw 2 movies with potential Best Actor performances and could be nominated. But the front runner, I think, right now, from all the movies that have been coming out at the festivals, and is Anthony Hopkins as Anthony in the.
Wait, his name's Anthony?
Anthony, yep, his name's Anthony.
Okay.
Yep, and I don't know if you have any relatives, or you know anybody with dementia or early onset Alzheimer's, any of those type of things. But it's something that is kind of a difficult thing to deal with because the person basically doesn't know what's going on. They're confused and the world around them is confusing and it really messes with their head. Well, the director, Florian Zeller, literally puts the viewer in the shoes of the characters. You are just as confused as what's going on as Anthony is in the movie. So when he's saying, hey, why am I not in my flat? Or where is Anne, my daughter? That's Olivia Colman. You're like, where is Anne? Why is he not in his apartment? What's going on? When there's a caregiver there and you think, okay, it's supposed to be Anne. And so you're disoriented just as much as Anthony is. And for me, I felt like Anthony Hopkins really showed that he had dementia. He had these debilitating mental diseases where you didn't know what you were doing or where you are when you wake up in the morning. What's going on? And I mean, we've seen it with Still Alice with Julianne Moore. We've seen it with oh God, I can't think of it was Robert Forster. It was
oh shoot.
Oh, what the heck is the name of that? I put it in my review and now I'm still here. I'm still here, maybe. I can't remember.
Keep talking, I'll find it.
But these people are disoriented. But this movie, you literally feel like you're disoriented as the viewer watching. You're like, what's going on? You're right in the shoes of Anthony. And to me, that is so effective. Florian Zeller, I can't say enough about how effective that was for me, being put in the shoes of Anthony Hopkins and his daughter, Anne, who's like, she doesn't know what's going on with her father. You know, she says one thing and then her father, like there's a whole sequence where he thinks she said she was going to go to France with a boyfriend and she's not going to France. But we all think that too. We're all watching and we're saying, yeah, she's going to France because that's what she said, but that's not what she said. So it's really confusing for him, but it's confusing for us as well in a very effective way. It's not confusing in a bad way. It's confusing in a good way.
Now, you said that we follow him. Do we get anything from Olivia Colman's perspective the entire time? Or is this or is this movie from Anthony's character's perspective?
It's from both of their perspectives. That's the best part about it. You get scenes where it's from his perspective, and then you get scenes from her perspective where you're like, what am I going to do? I just can't deal with this. I need to put this guy in a home because I just can't deal with this anymore. He puts you in Hopkins' shoes and he puts you in Coleman's shoes at various times in the movie. And so you're just as confused and just as frustrated as he is and she is.
Now, curious. I've heard mostly great things about his performance and then Olivia Colman's performance. Do you see this doing anything outside of merely just the acting and maybe the writing?
Another one where cinematography could come in, because he thinks he's in his flat when he's in her flat, and he keeps saying, why are you all in my flat? And they're not in his flat, they're in her little apartment. So the cinematographer has to make it look like we're in his apartment, but we're not in his apartment. So a lot of that camera work and the movement of the people, they're walking around this apartment. This is some real, same thing with my One Night in Miami. It's subtle cinematography that you don't, it's not that blow them up like Black Panther cinematography or John Wick cinematography or Blade Runner 2049 cinematography, which is like breathtakingly gorgeous.
It is.
This is more subtle cinematography that is so effective.
Now, do you think this has any? I know you kept praising the film in and of itself. You kept mentioning the direction of Regina King. How does this compare when it comes to The Father from Florian Zeller? Is this something that you could see get a director or the picture, or is it not as a sure deal as the acting?
Yeah, I don't think Florian Zeller. I don't think Florian Zeller is going to get director. I just think it's because the acting overshadows the direction. I think the direction is subtle direction, and I think the performances from Coleman and Hopkins really kind of like upgraded everything in the movie. They kind of like bring it up, if you know what I mean.
So if the Father were to get in, technically say, and again, this is far out, this could totally change. No, we're not locking in anything, obviously. But if the movie was to be as adored and loved in the awards circuit as we seem to be at this moment, do you think that the Florian Zeller could like come in a la like The Room? Linny Abrahamson came in, the director. It was getting in picture. It was getting in actress. It got in some writing. It got in some other things along those lines, and it brought that in. Do you think that Florian Zeller could come in at all with the buzz that Anthony Hopkins is getting for himself? Like, he brings in stuff with him because he's almost set with to win the Oscar type of thing.
I would say if anything, maybe a screenplay, and I can't remember if this is adapted. I think this is adapted as well.
Yes,
from a play. So maybe a screenplay nomination. I believe he's the writer.
Yes. Yes.
So I think he's got a better shot at screenplay than he does direction, because if you go down the list of potential directors that could get in, the list is real long, and I think Florian Zeller is down on the list as far as that goes. And I think there's a better shot at King getting in over Zeller as far as that goes, because I'm hearing amazing buzz about Mank that just got screeners just went out for Mank, and this could be the year for David Fincher. Who knows?
It could be the year for Netflix. Finally,
could be.
They would be happy.
Right about that.
But also, okay, so The Father, we have One Night in Miami. Some of the other ones you talked about, there's one in particular you mentioned that I found interesting, Wolfwalkers. What in the world is a Wolfwalker? Because this one's an Irish animated film, right? Yeah.
All right, so you may have heard of a few movies from a few years ago called The Sound of the Kells, or The Music of the Kells, kind of a real small animation studios that came out maybe 10 years ago or something like that. Well, they followed that up with some other ones since. One of them called The Breadwinner, you may have heard of.
Sure did.
Same studio, it's called Cartoon Saloon. And what they do is they get animators from different countries. They come up with ideas, and then they go to them, and then they get fundraising from various countries that the people are from, and then they start developing these animated features. Well, the Cartoon Saloon guys, the main guys, actually did The Sound of the Kells, or whatever it was called, and now they're doing this one, Wolfwalkers, about an Irish folk tale about wolves being around Kalani Island in 1650, but they kind of turn people into wolves, but not really werewolves. And it's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful animated movie. This right now is my front runner for best animated feature.
Whoa.
I've Over the Moon. I've seen the Willoughbys. I've seen Onward. I've seen Trolls. I've seen.
You don't think Trolls World Tour has a shot, Dan?
No. I think Soul and Wolfwalkers will be. Soul hasn't come out. We're going to get Soul in a couple months, month and a half or so. It's going to be a battle between Soul and Wolfwalkers. And what I love is that it's such a small animation studio that I'd love to see somebody doing something different, getting into. Oh, also the new what's the Dragon? Something in the Dragon. That Rhea and the Dragon looks really good. That could be in the running for animated as well. But Wolfwalkers, I think, is going to be the first early contender to get in there for best animated feature. It's such a heartwarming little tale. I can't say enough about it. I really, really enjoyed it. And this year really hasn't had a lot of great animated films. And I think one of the best ones I've seen all year is Wolfwalkers. And I think it's going to sneak in there for best animated feature.
And just to let everyone know that The Father does not have a streaming release date for you all. However, Wolfwalkers will be released on Apple TV Plus on December 11th, 2020. So would this kind of be Apple TV's first possible nomination? Have we heard anything else from Apple that they've done? Because like last year, they had that mishap with the banker or something along the lines. Is that what it's called? Correct? Yeah. So now this could be technically their first streaming feature to get some buzz.
Yeah, I don't think On the Rocks. I mean, I liked On the Rocks, don't get me wrong, but I just don't think it had the flair of some of other Sofia Coppola movies, or Lost in Translation, which is in a way kind of similar to this with Bill Murray and Scarlett Johansson. This is Bill Murray and Rhea, what's her name from Remedy.
Rashida Jones?
Oh, that's it. Rashida Jones. My bad. I'm getting these people mixed up. But yeah, it didn't have the bite. It's funny and it's nice, but it just doesn't have the bite of past Sofia Coppola movies. So I think On the Rocks is going to fall short, and I think Wolfwalkers is definitely going to be a contender for best animated feature for A24. So sure, yeah, you're right about that. This could be the first A24 movie to get nominations. I mean, not A24. My bad. I said A24.
I got you. Apple TV Plus. Wait, don't tell me. The other ones you saw were I'm Your Woman, correct? Tell us a little bit more about that, because when you said that, my first thought was like, do I know what this movie is? I've heard words of it, but can you kind of explain to people what is I Am Your Woman?
I'm Your Woman is a movie from a director, Olivia Hart, I believe her name is, and she's usually done more teenager type movies, various movies starring teenagers. Well, this is her first kind of foray into serious subject matter with adults. And Amazon Prime's darling, Rachel Brosnahan, stars in this. And it's basically about her husband. One night he brings home a baby and he says, here, this baby's our baby now. This is your baby. You need to take care of this baby. So she's like, what do you mean I got to take care of this baby?
Oh, wow.
It takes place in the 70s and early 80s. But if you love, I'm a sucker for 70s movies.
Oh yeah,
because obviously we're not in the 70s anymore. So
nope.
I get kind of upset if they don't capture the 70s and the 80s properly. Well, this movie really did it. The cars, the clothes, the hair. I mean, it's just like you felt like you went into a time machine and you went back into the 70s. So fantastic. But getting back to Rachel Brosnahan, it's not a comedy. It is a very dramatic role starring Rachel Brosnahan, and she has to go on the run with this baby because men are coming after her husband. And she gets some help from some other people along the way. But she kind of has to take things into her own hands and deal with these people that are coming after her husband, because then they eventually come after her. Very great performance by Rachel Brosnahan. And I'm a huge fan of hers from The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. But this is her breakout into real dramatic fare. I think she could be in the mix for Best Actress, because I think a lot of your best female performances are kind of supporting right now. You probably have like Frances McDormand for Best Actor, Best Actress, maybe Glenn Close, but she could sneak in there, because this year hasn't been, you might get one of the two from Ammonite, but probably Kate Winslet. But Brosnahan could sneak in because there just isn't that many great female performances this year. And so she could be in the picture for Best Actress for I'm Your Woman.
Well, that means we just have to keep on the lookout for those really great female performances of this year, because again, it's harder to find them because there's no marquee on a theater. So it is something for allow people to it will allow smaller films, including streaming services I mentioned in last week's episode, to be able to kind of push things to the forefront. So I'm looking forward to seeing what kind of makes its way through everything.
Also, Viola Davis for Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. Both Hillbilly Elegy and Ma Rainey's Black Bottom are on Netflix, so you'll be able to see those in the near future. Yeah. Whew.
Netflix is just like, we're gonna fire everything at the wall and see what sticks. Oh
yeah, tell me about that. I mean, you're absolutely. And also, I forgot. Also, what's her face from? She was in the last Mission Impossible, but she's also in the Queen. They bought that. They
Vanessa Kirby.
Yes, Netflix won a bidding war for her movie as well.
Oh, wait, is that the one with Shia LaBeouf also in it?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So those are three big performances by leading actresses that could all get nominated. Glenn Close, Viola Davis, and Vanessa Kirby, all coming on Netflix over the next month and a half.
That's incredible.
So Rachel could get knocked out because of that.
Well, I'm still excited to see what, I'm still excited to see what exactly does stick from Netflix and see, or maybe if they all stick, because we'll find out. And then lastly, I can't remember the one that you had mentioned before. What was that one more that you saw as well?
Sound of Metal. Sound of Metal stars Riz Ahmed and Olivia Cook. Riz Ahmed is a heavy metal drummer, and Olivia Cook is the lead singer of their band. And one day all of a sudden he starts losing his hearing. His name is Ruben Stone, and he starts losing his hearing, and their agent or their music producer or whatever has to go out and look for somebody that can help him with his hearing loss. And he gets set up with this kind of a group home of deaf people, and people, the guy that's in charge has to try to help him understand that you may not get your hearing back, and that this group is a group of like Alcoholics Anonymous or drug groups or something like that. But this is for deaf people that are going deaf or becoming deaf. And a lot of the dialogue is spoken in sign language. It is. And
really
a lot of the dialogue is spoken in sign language. Very effective, I might add. I was shocked of how tuned in I was to the dialogue, even though they were talking in sign language a lot of the time. They mix back and forth between verbal communication and sign language, and with subtitles and stuff like that. And this is the person I thought, Riz Ahmed, really, he's been really killing it over the last few years with The Night Of. Obviously, he was in Rogue One, A Star Wars Story, but this guy is a guy that I've been watching for a little bit now, and he is a guy who's been on the rise. Riz Ahmed has, and this could be the role that puts him over the top to get him his first Oscar nomination. Even though Best Actor right now, the category of Best Actor is stacked. I mean, stacked. Yeah. He might be able to slip in there. This doesn't come out till December, the Sound of Metal on Amazon, but I'm telling you, he is fantastic in there. And you really understand that being deaf, how difficult it is being deaf, being around these people, watching these people, and how, but he looks at it as like a disability, like, God, oh no, I'm not going to be able to do what I love, playing drums in this metal rock and roll band and stuff. And then, but he might have to accept his place in society as being a deaf person. And I'm not going to spoil the movie, you know, but it's really tough to watch him go through what he's going through. But Riz Ahmed, oh my God.
So that's something you think we should be looking out for, Riz Ahmed.
Best actor in the Best Actor race. Yeah. I mean, obviously that race is stacked with Anthony Hopkins.
Oh yeah.
Gary Oldman and Paul Bettany and maybe Jude Law and maybe other ones that haven't even come out. Maybe Chadwick Boseman. And people are talking Delroy Lindo. I listened to the last episode of Gone with the Wind, and I honestly, between you and me, Manning, I really don't think Delroy Lindo is going to stand up come nominations time.
Really?
Yep. I think he's going to fall. I just don't think it's as great a performance as people think. I think Chadwick has got a better shot because Ma Rainey's Black Bottom is coming out in December. It's going to be more on people's eyes, and it's going to be the most recent movie. And with him being, obviously, R.I.P., rest in peace, rest in power, I think people are going to think of, Chadwick has a better chance. Or even Daniel Kaluuya before Delroy Lindo. That's a hot take, I know.
Well, I mean, also the hot take is if To Five Bloods continues, because remember, it was released in June 12th, and I know the times are strange, obviously, right now, but it needs to start picking up some steam once again, I think, and maybe Netflix will push it later again. But at this point, no, I don't think that's too big a hot of a take, and I think you're in safe company, because I think depending on how things go, yeah, he might. Delroy Lindo might miss out, and I wouldn't be shocked. But again, this is literally November, and the nominations aren't till February or March. I can't remember exactly. No, it's not till March, so we have time. We have lots and lots of time. Oh, Dan, before we close, is there anything else that you have coming up festival-wise that you would like to highlight or mention to anyone else, or anything you want to plug?
Yeah, the festivals were over for me, man. But I'm a film critic. I write for the website disappointmentmedia.com. Don't at me, people. I didn't come up with the name of it. I just write for them. And I also write on my own blog from the fourth row at wordpress.com. That's my own blog. So if you don't find my articles on disappointmentmedia.com, you can see them on from the fourth row at wordpress.com. I'm going to be doing an article on Untouchables about, the death of Sean Connery and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. I'm always going to continue to be writing and reviewing movies, whatever comes out. I'm doing a week-by-week episode review of The Mandalorian Season 2. So you can look forward to those reviews every week. I do a couple YouTube shows. I do a summer series called Bleacher Features. That's a series during the summer, so it's not going to be till next summer. We're going to do season 3 and Top 5 Weekly. I haven't really done a lot with Top 5 Weekly because there hasn't been a lot of movies out in theaters. I haven't been going to the theater.
Nope.
So that's basically whatever movies come out. So I haven't been doing that. I've been kind of busy with work lately, but I'm doing a lot of watching of movies on various streaming services. Netflix, Amazon, Hulu, Apple Plus, HBO Max. I'm seeing a lot of movies, Manning. It's they're there. You just gotta want to search them out and watch them. If you're a movie fan, don't complain to me there's no movies, because I'm telling you there are movies. You just gotta go search them out and watch them. They're out there. VOD. There's plenty of movies to watch right now. You got to spend a little money. That's it.
And I will say, it's not that the movies aren't out there. It's just the way to see them is different than how we're used to most of the time. Because obviously, I think most people, including myself, would be like, yes, take me to a theater. Let me go to the safe space that I enjoy to go to and just enjoy. But where we are right now, that is not the case. I know for me, we literally just opened movie theaters back. And my Regal, because Regal, as we all know, temporarily closed. And that's where I always went. I'm a Regal member and everything, and now I can't do that. So I understanding at the time we have, but no, once things start to get into the Oscar season, things will be made available readily on streaming services. So please look out for those at the moment. And I'm going to bring it back to Manning, who will close us out with Gone with the Wind. Manning, take it away, Manning. Thank you, Manning, for that rather great interview, and thank you, Dan, for joining us. We're going to wrap this up real things with two different things. Mank officially dropped, or I guess the embargo lifted last Thursday night, talking where critics were allowed to talk about David Fincher's black and white drama surrounding the character of Mankiewicz, Herman J. Mankiewicz, played by Gary Oldman. And it follows his creation of Citizen Kane and the life of screenwriter Herman J. Mankiewicz, played by Gary Oldman. Citizen Kane, regarded as one of the best films of all time, had a bumpy road in its release of 1941, and Fincher's black and white drama examines the controversy behind the scenes. This is 11th's first film since Gone Girl. Can you believe that?
I actually could.
What has he done? What has he done? Mindhunter? What else has he done between then? Oh, that's.
I think he just did sort of Mindhunter before there.
Wow, I'm actually very shocked that that's all he did. He directed some House of Cards, but I don't know how long when that was. It seems. He directed The Curious Case of Benjamin Button as well. That was 2018, and Gone Girl. Curious Case of Benjamin Button is one of my girlfriend's favorite films. It's a fantastic film. But this one, Mank, I'm super excited because for those who know me, know I love classic Hollywood. And some of the first reactions that came out with this highly acclaimed or this highly anticipated work, we have some critics that kind of said, from Clayton Davis from Variety said, Mank has plenty to admire technically. Production, camera work, sound, and score are the strongest elements and the leading picks for the Oscars. This is the AP Film History course for cinephiles, likely to alienate some general audiences. Janelle Riley says people always talk about Fincher's technical genius, but he also has a way with actors. Mank is Gary Oldman's film, but every role is perfectly cast, and maybe Amanda Seyfried will get the attention she deserves. Tom, Phil Free, and Lily Collins also make most of their screen time. Stephen Weintraub says David Fincher's Mank is phenomenal. Everything from the brilliant sound design to the amazing performances make it one of the best films of 2020. Eric Anderson says Mank isn't really about the making of Citizen Kane. It's about how Hollywood machines props up and quickly tears down. Superb screenplay and structure, a technical marvel, and eerily relevant. Good performances all, but Arliss Howard, Tom Filfrey, and Amanda Seyfried stand out. All right. So again, it'll be in select theaters November 3rd and stream on Netflix and December 4th. Malcolm, are you excited?
I mean, this is a movie that I didn't know that I wanted. Like,
Fair.
I didn't know there was so much drama behind the filming of Citizen Kane. But I mean, I've seen the trailer. It looks good. I'm gonna check it out because Netflix and all that.
Netflix has everything.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's like, yeah, I'll check it out. I like Gary Oldman. I like Amanda Seyfried. And I like movies about making movies.
Who doesn't love a good movie about making a movie?
Yeah. And we're going to get one about the making of Godfather, apparently, as well, with Oscar Isaac playing Francis Ford Coppola, but that's for another story.
Wait, hold on, what?
There's a movie coming out about the making of the Godfather movie with Oscar Isaacs playing Francis Ford Coppola, and Jake Gyllenhaal is playing the producer, I think.
Hold on, I did not know this. Hold on. Really? What's this called?
I'm looking it up now.
Because anything with Oscar Isaac is an absolute yes for me.
I'm putting the link in the chat.
Ah, all right. So I'm going to look at that after this because you look, Oscar Isaac and Jake Gyllenhaal. That's a combination I'm here for. But anyway, no, Mank is definitely something to look out for. So people look out for that. Also, find funny that David. Oops, this completely just not what I meant to do. It's David Elric, I believe that's how you pronounce his name. Or Ehrlich, David Ehrlich from IndieWire.
Yeah.
I love David Fincher's. I love that David Fincher's dad gets sole screenwriting credit on Mank, a good movie about how hard it is for movies to be good. So that's gonna be really cool. The fact that he directed his father's screenplay. All right. Anyway, and now we also before we also head out, this past week we lost the acting legend, the Academy Award-winning actor Sir Sean Connery. He died at the age of 90 years old. I think he's been doing poorly from what I've heard for some time, but I think this was just during this time. This is the moment that he passed. But yeah, any thoughts you have quickly? He died in the Bahamas on October 31st, 2020.
Yeah, it's one of those ones like it's sad that we lost Sean Connery and all that. I did like him, what he did with Bond and all that. And it's one of those ones like he's created a whole bunch of roles. Like I loved him in Entrapment, Highlander and all that. And I mean, a lot of people I see is focusing on Bond, which is not wrong to do, because it is one of his most famous roles next to Henry Jones. But yeah, I mean, but it's one of those ones like knowing that he died peacefully in his sleep. It's one of those ones that it shows that there wasn't anything nefarious with how he died, and all that. He was just getting up there in age, and I wish his family well and all that.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, I've never been the biggest Sean Connery fan. He was never someone because I never grew up watching James Bond. I've only seen it here and there, as we've talked on the podcast before. And Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade was when I really knew about him. And apparently, from we found out, is that Connery's wife, Michelle Racuburn, excuse me if I butchered her name, revealed he was suffering from dementia in his final years. So I can only imagine what that would do. And my prayers and thoughts are with the family right now, because there's nothing else I can offer at this time, because no one should have to go through those final years of dementia, because it's called the long goodbye.
Yeah, and one thing I actually found out recently is, for the longest time, I thought The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen was his final movie, but it actually he came out of retirement in 2012 to an animated movie called Sir Bolly.
Wait, what? What?
Yeah, he did a movie in 2012 called Sir Bolly, but I don't know much about that. Not heard anything of it. So,
Interesting. Voice role, also executive producer. Yeah, his last film that he did was The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. His last film was Sir Bolly. And then 2012 is Ever to Excel. He was the narrator. It was a documentary. That was officially his final film.
Yeah.
He definitely did not do a lot following that.
Well, I mean, I think with Leo Jr. was when I think he said he was going in retirement after that anyway. But he came out. He chose he chose to come out of retirement just for the animated movie and all that.
Mm-hmm.
So it was clear that he wasn't up to doing any more live action roles.
Well, our thoughts are with his family at this time, and prayers for what they're going through at the moment. But yeah, sure. Rest easy. and thank you for the. He definitely had his issues, I know, with some of the comments that he has made before, but I still wish you well, sir, and thank you for for the film years you gave us. I know Matt Kearns would, if you had here, would definitely have some things to say.
Yeah, I mean, the chances are we're probably going to talk more about that on late night anyway.
Yeah, but anyway, Malcolm, where can they find you?
You can find me on Take 3 hosting Rankum every Saturday night. This week's topic is movies that top 12 sequels that came out 10 plus years after the original. And on late night, I have no idea what late night's going to be tonight. It's the 100th episode, so it's going to probably get maybe a mixture of fun and games. I'll try and get some guests and stuff. It's going to be something. Something will happen. But yeah. And you can find me over on Full Metal. I host Full Metal Random and Full Metal Classic.
And you can also find me at the 100th episode. I'm not sure how long I will be able to make it, but I'm definitely going to make it because Friday nights are grocery store night. But you know what? I might make the exception and be like, you know what? I can go without food for a dinner. I'm going to go and try to join it and hop on when I can. And again, you can find me on Twitter at Cine_man. That's CINE_MANN when I feel like tweeting. And of course, we're trying right now to figure out a time, but Malcolm, Matt, and I are going to try to do a quick reaction and review to Mandalorian. Well, more review than anything else. So we're going to try to talk about that. We're getting a time down so we can try to talk about each episode every week as it comes on. So you can come along, talk with us. We might make it live. Not sure what we're going to do yet. I have no idea, but I want to do that with them, and that's something we've kind of been in the works about. So look forward to that either this week or the beginning of next week, depending on when we decide to do things. So you'll either get a single episode or a double whammy. And again, thank you guys for listening, for continually listening and watching and supporting us. You can find us on YouTube, Take 3 Productions, or you can find us on Anchor, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere you get podcasts at Gone with the Wind. Leave us a like and a review, and I can't wait to see you guys, or I guess hear from you guys again. So yeah, thank you all, and I hope you all have a fantastic day.